Okay, we left off in Tosis over here. You coming to the table? Okay, you won't disturb me. Okay. We concluded yesterday on Samach Gimel Amid Beis. The father says, I married off my daughter. So he's believed. The Torah says he's believed to say she's a married woman, even to identify the husband. So we had an argument. What about if she commits adultery? The adulterer, is he liable for the death penalty? If now she's an adult, is she liable for the death penalty? So tomorrow we rule she's not liable. Because the father's only believed, only to give her a married state, to prohibit her to others, but in terms of to believe him, the equivalent of two witnesses, that there should be a liability of death penalty, not. Okay? What about if a woman herself would say, I'm a married woman, right? What do we believe her? It's based on principle Shav Nafshe Chatich D'Yisura, that a person is able to establish herself in a forbidden state. So regarding yourself, we see you as a married person. But in terms of, do we actually believe you? The equivalent of two witnesses testifying that you're married, we don't believe it to that degree. No, which means if somebody would commit adultery with her, based on her say-so, she won't be liable for the death penalty, and he won't be liable for the death penalty. Although, because she brought this upon herself, there are no witnesses who established it. Regarding any level of liability, you have to have, the Torah says you have to have two witnesses. Okay? Because the father says, Biti no, Shav Nafshe Chatich D'Yisura. With the Gemara, Shavi Nafshe, a person has the ability, regarding his own self, to create a state of prohibition, although it's not believed, like the piece of meat. Same idea. Same idea. It's a machlokus. We discussed the machlokus, the Ktsos, and the Maran Leib. Is it, I believe you, or no? It's just, you have the ability to obligate. We don't believe you at all, at any level. There, at any level. You could obligate yourself to create a financial debt by saying, I owe. You say, I stole, I borrowed, I did this. We don't believe you borrowed, you stole. But it's enough that you're obligated for that amount of money. That's all. Okay? That's the moral labor. So it says, no, we actually believe you. So a person say, I stole, and therefore I owe. You disqualify yourself. Based on what you're saying, you're not qualified to be a witness. A thief, a ganef, a gazlan is disqualified. Chodos baldin. So says the same thing is true even Shav Nafshe Chatich D'Yisura. Just as regarding monetary, we believe you regarding yourself, the same thing regarding Yisur. Anything you state, which regarding your own situation, we believe it fully. But only limited pertaining to yourself, not pertaining to others. Now that's something else, because it can't be better than witnesses. It can't be better than witnesses. It says, no. No, the Torah says, motive knas potur, right? Because it says, Asher yashir elokim prat l'mashir satzmo. Only if the court has to convict you on penalty. You can't incriminate yourself when it comes to penalty. Not because they know the mismatz or Russia. Because when a penalty, the court has to give the verdict of penalty. I want just to digress a little bit. The Rishonim explain what's the difference between momon and knas. One is restitution, the other is penalty. Momon, the person goes and damages, is a damager. I break your window. The obligation is immediate. Why? Because a mazik, a damager, has liability, has financial liability. When witnesses come to testify, what are they doing? The Gemara says that's called levure. They're only coming to verify what happened. If that's what happened, you're liable. We don't need a ruling of the court. The action itself obligates you, that you're obligated to make restitution. That's called tashlumim. You have to restore what you diminished. Knas, until the court rules that you're liable, you're not liable. You're not obligated. They have to give a verdict. Asher yashirun Elohim. The court has to give a verdict. Until they give the verdict, so there's a whole discussion about tfisa. If a person, let's say, owes money and the damagee wants to seize property, he could seize. You can't seize knas. Because until the court gives the verdict, there's no basis to seize. There's nothing, because there's no obligation. Regarding damages, the obligation is immediately, based upon the moment the damage takes place. The court only has to verify the damage, but if there is a damage, the monetary obligation is there immediately. Right? That's how the Rishonim differentiate. So there it's a mode of knas poter. If a person wants to incriminate himself, a person comes to Bezdin and he says, I'm a murderer. Right? What the Gemara says in Makos, you have experts in Makos over here, right? We speak about Gavra Katila, right? Person is considered halachically as if he's dead, right? The court ruled already a person has to be put to death. And somebody went that was mazim, conspired to have that person put to death. What's the kasha zomam? As you want to, we do unto you, but the person you conspired against is what? He's a dead man. There's no kasha zomam. What happens if he did murder, but the court didn't convict him yet? And you testify against that man. Kasha zomam lasus lochiv. You find out to be conspiring, they put you to death. But he already murdered. The Gemara speaks about a case. Howard could quote it. Howard Marcus. A person two witnesses come and say that so-and-so committed murder on Thursday. Okay? Another two witnesses come and say, how could you testify he committed murder on Thursday? He committed on Monday. On Monday. But on Thursday you were with us, so you couldn't have witnessed that murder. You put them to death. He already was a murderer on Monday. But it was never brought to the court yet. So who did you testify against? A viable person. You put him to death. But if he already was convicted previously by the court, and you testify against that person, then the halacha is there's no kasha zomam, because he's a gavra katila. Okay? So the same, that's the knas. So there's a famous Rashi, there's a Shalom Haiman and a Rashi and Dafhei and Makos. He says knas is like misa. So they all ask, what does knas have to do with misa? So that's what he explains it. Just as regarding the death penalty, until the court gives its verdict, that reality doesn't exist. Same thing with knas. Until they give the verdict that he's obligated, there is no financial responsibility, obligation, similar. That's the similarity between knas and misa. Okay? Whether it's the father saying he married off his daughter to his daughter's married, or the woman herself says she's married, in either case, there's no liability of skila. My son is 9 years old, and therefore, if he's 9 years old, his act of cohabitation is an act of cohabitation. My daughter's 3 years old, therefore, if she's 3, if somebody cohabits with her and she's a married woman, so it's considered an act of adultery. He's believed only regarding atonement, meaning if somebody cohabited with her, he has to bring a korban. But in terms of the court liability, not. No, because that's Erech Mem Bisurin. That's Erech Mem Bisurin. Erech Mem Bisurin. Tanya Namikavu. Tanya Kavasi Rav Chizda. Benize ben Yud Gimel Shana v'Yom Echad. Person is my son's bar mitzvah. Biti Ba'zu Bas Yud Bei Shana v'Yom Echad. She's 12 years old. My son is 13. My daughter is 12. Neman l'nedorim l'charobim. Ulegdeshos u'larochim avlo l'max l'onshim. Meaning, if the child makes a netter now, the netter is a netter. Meaning, there's a restriction. Cherim is also something which, like Derek Abayis, Hegdish is consecration for Korban, Erchin, but not Lamakos Ochin. Okay, so yesterday we began Tosas over here. Tosas is a question. If a father is not believed to say that a person, his child is 13 or his daughter is 12, so Tosas asked over here, Kosher. A woman who's a katana is not eligible for chalitza. A man, it's questionable whether he's an adult or a minor. He's not eligible. He can't give chalitza because it says ish. He has to be an ish and she has to be an isha. She has to be an adult. So a woman comes to Bezdin to receive chalitza. How do we know she's an adult? Well, her father said she's an adult. But we're just saying now, we don't believe the father, right? Because they can't call Noshe Bos Lefonei Lachlotz, Hechi Achlotzu, Avgav Sheish Lem Simonim. Although, as he's going to Rashi says, to be an adult you need puberty and years. Puberty without years, or years without puberty is nothing. Correct? Her husband died childless. So now the surviving brother has to give a chalitza to allow her to remarry. Until she becomes an adult, the Torah says she has to be an adult. Right? Otherwise, it's not a valid chalitza. Correct. One thing we see clearly, even in Yevamos. Okay. Keva shel yodim shnosein lo mahani. So seemingly the chalitza shouldn't be a valid chalitza. The shema yovim koton. Maybe the one who's given, maybe he's a minor. The ish ksiv, the parsha. The mashma ish velo koton. V'chol anoshim bon al arayos. The person commits adultery. Hech hinerogim. Even if he's forewarned, the person forewarns a minor. Could you put the minor to death? So a person's forewarned he shouldn't commit adultery, he commits adultery, or something else. How was he put to death? Avagav sheishlam sairos, even though we have puberty, komoko, you know, the yodim shnosein, but we're not aware of their age. If they're not of age, they're not liable. V'shemahim katanim, that's Tosa's question. Vomerig, even though factually, I mean, he's asking on Rashi, but nobody disagrees. The Gemara says that simona below shonim, if you have puberty without years, it's nothing. And if you have years without puberty, it's not. The Gemara says in Nido that what happens if your child is 15? You check him, there's no cyrus. There's no puberty. So Rabba says that the majority of children, when they reach this age, are adults. And we say noshru, that the pubic hairs fell out. They fell out. That's a presumption. They fell out. That's what we say. But nevertheless, even though there's a rove, and you have a right to go after the rove, nevertheless, regarding rabbinically, we don't rely on that. We don't rely on that. So therefore, the Mishnah rules, let's see, parshas Zohar. Kriyas Torah is a Doraisa. He says you shouldn't have a bar mitzvah boy reading parshas Zohar unless you bodik him that he has, you know, he's of age, but he may have not reached puberty. And if he didn't reach puberty, then it's a problem. He can't be motzi de tzibur. A kohen cannot be motzi, cover adults in the reading of parshas Zohar. So he says, therefore, unless he shaves, he has hair, facial hair, he should not be the balkori, because it's questionable whether he's an adult. Parshas Zohar for that reason. No, it has nothing to do with seriousness of the subject, because it's doraisa. So a person is a baltokeya, right? And he's a phenomenal baltokeya, right? Played in the Carnegie Hall with Howard. It means nothing, right? Unless you know he's an adult. Okay? No, because again, if the ramification of the testimony of the father is death, is punishment, the father does not believe regarding punishment. What does that have to do with it? It has nothing to do with it. Puberty without age means nothing. He must be minimally 13 years old. So the father's input will determine whether he's going to be put to death. That's punishment. Father does not believe for this. Right? That's Tosa's question. For Omeri, Tosa is simple. The iko ribui saros, samchine aribui saros. If there are only 2 pubic hairs, you could question, is he an adult or not? But if there's an abundance of hair, ribui, then darkam novo kodim yudgim shana. Doesn't happen. So if there was that much pubic hairs, we could say with certainty the person is definitely an adult. Inami imhem gedolim bekoma. What about physically? In height. The person's developed. He doesn't look like a child, looks like an adult. Yishlismu hal simonim Coma. You can combine puberty and the height, the physical development, tells us that he's an adult. That's sufficient. Although you only have 2 pubic hairs. Nevertheless, so you'd say maybe that's an indication, maybe it's a borderline question. It's not simple. That's what we say, but if he has physically, he's developed in height, that compensates for that question. Al-Gemara, since the father's not believed, he has 2 sides. He reached puberty, but the question is, physically he's not developed. He looks like a child. That's the reason why it says he's not believed. You know, it's ruled in Shulchan Aruch. Ramos says that a shliach tzibur kavua, to have a regular person who's normally representing, who's the shliach tzibur, that if he doesn't look like an adult, even though he's definitely an adult, he should not be the shliach tzibur on an ongoing basis. Why? It's not kavrat tzibur. I mean, you have a representative. He looks like a child. It's not to go up to the Yom once in a while, okay, but to be a shliach tzibur kavua, he says he has to have facial hair. Doesn't have facial hair, it should not be, because it looks like when a child is representing the tzibur. It's not appropriate. It's interesting. By the Hasidim, Shabbos, to go to the Yom on Shabbos, you have to be married. No, you have to be married. You have to be married. If you're not married, during the week, a single person go to the Yom. Shabbos, you have to be married to go to the Yom. Because again, Shabbos, Kavrat Tzibur, it should be somebody who's more established in his life for that reason. It's like similar to, Ramos says, to be Shlitzu for Rosh and Kippur, he should be minimally a certain age, he should be married, he should have children, because he sees the world differently, he prays differently. Okay? Similar to that. Od Pirishri, Chita Acheres, the B'mokum Simonim, Ain't Tzorach Edushonim. That if you have Simonim, you don't have to know about how old he is. Vim Tomar, Imkei, Ma'onu Tzrichel, Nusa Shalov. I'm just saying, he's not believed, we're saying, if you have puberty, you could assume you have years. You don't need the father's testimony, but it says here clearly, the father's not believed to say he's 13. But if you have puberty, what do you need the father's testimony? Period. Shloma de Mari Hochel She'ovim Peyid Shekvar Over Shona O Shnosayim She'ochal Beno Chelev O Boal O Ervo. You hear this? We're speaking about after fact. If today we have puberty, the presumption is puberty, you have the years. Because the majority of the case, person doesn't reach puberty unless you have age. Here we're speaking about the father says, as you have puberty today, 2 years ago when he ate chelev, he already reached puberty. He was an adult. He was an adult then. Okay? So the question, do you believe him? To punish him. Korban, yes. The son would have to bring a korban, the chatos, for eating chelev. But in terms of punishment, we're not going to punish him. So let's say, of course, he had to be forewarned. The son had to be forewarned at that time. Otherwise, there's no basis even for punishment. It's not because the father is not believed. Correct? The question is, at that previous time, was he of the age? O Simonim? Okay. That's called the kasha of a nice. Okay? Das? What do you see, das? No, the father says he was an adult when he ate the chelev. So if he's an adult, what do you mean he didn't have that? No, we're talking about a father's belief regarding a son and a daughter. We're talking about Eid Echad. No. Okay. Now, Tosas asked an interesting question. We quoted a brisa, a father's belief Linadorim. Linadorim. So he says, why is he believed in Nadorim? Punishment not. So evidently, he's an Eid Echad. Eid Echad then Bisurin. He's an Eid Echad. So Tosas asks, if it's Eid Echad, so why the father more than anyone else? Right? The father's believed to say he's of age, that his neder is a neder. So why only the father? If it's a question, there's something unique about the father, okay. But we're saying the basis for the father is only because Eirechon and Bisurin. It's Nemon Dorf, Eirechon and Bisurin, Tema, Hay Nemon Elo, Bedovishi Biodo. He's saying something else. Dovishi Biodo. And that's the next Mishnah coming up to Gemara. A man says, my daughter is married. He's believed. Why? Because he can marry off his daughter when she's a minor. Right? That's why he's believed. Let's say she's an adult, and today he can't marry her off. He says, I married off my daughter. He's not believed. Of course, today he's not able to marry her off. It's only when she's a minor or a nara, where she's still in his domain to marry her off, he could say, I married her off. But once she's an adult, it's not biyodo. He can't affect her in that degree. He's not believed. So over here, why is he believed? To say that the netter is a netter, therefore he's bound by the netter. The Yishloma came to Soveli Godel, or so Kedovish Biyodo. Now it's interesting, very interesting. The Gemara says in Yevomis that let's say you have untied grain, and the person who owns the grain says, I tied the grain, and therefore you're permitted to eat of the grain. Is he believed? No, not the Chavir. I always say too much knowledge. A little knowledge is dangerous. Okay? It's nothing to do with Chavir. The man himself is saying, I tithed it. He's not an Amoritz. When there's not a person you can't... Truma, Amoritz is believed to say he's believed. For Truma, he's believed. He's believed. He's believed. Man says, I tithe the grain. Is he believed? Yes. Why? No. He's believed. Could I get to where I want to get? Okay. I didn't get down under yet. I'm still above. Okay. Okay. So if he's believed, why? Because a person who's able to tithe grain, if you own the grain, you can't tithe somebody else's grain unless he makes you a shliach, right? Unless he makes you an agent, you're not qualified to tithe it. So since he's able to bring about that result at this moment, of course he could tithe it, therefore he's believed. Even though there's a cheskes iser, the presumed status until this moment, it's not tithe. So why is he believed to say it's tithe? Because he can make that change at this moment. So Gemara says because it's biyodo. It's within his ability to create that conversion from tevel to chulin. Okay? What about a third party? He comes and says, I know so-and-so tithed this grain. He's not believed. He's not believed. Because he cannot affect that, the tevel. So what is the chazok? It's cheskes iser. The presumed status, it's tevel. He's not believed. Because he cannot change it. Good question. Good question. So there's a toast on that base. In Gittin speaks about this. Because it's biyodo lishchot. Even though at this moment it's post facto, I mean, biyodo, if the animal's alive, you could say you could slaughter it. Post facto, you can't slaughter it anymore. But since it's something that you could bring about, that's called biyodo. Okay, that's what Tosas answers. What about a person that's not even a qualified shochet? Right? You don't even know how to pick up the knife, to check the knife. Doesn't make a difference. Since it's biyodo, he could be taught hilchos shchita and so on and so forth. So therefore, it's within his domain to be believed. But something where, regardless, you have no relevance to bring that about, then you're not believed. You're not believed. No, you're not, because factually you cannot affect it because it's not your grain. So you're not believed. Okay? That's not called biyodo. It's not biyodo. So over here, why is the father? He's asking, Ha'ein nemon ele b'davish biyodo? The child himself is in the status now, his netter was nothing. All of a sudden now he's creating an isser. It's not biyodo. How can he affect the child? Shloma came in the Sofeli Godel or so Kedovish biyodo. Since ultimately, the Tosis speaks in other locations that chazok asui lishtanos. What it's something which naturally will change. It's not meant to remain the same. You can't go against something which is a presumed status. Because you say, unless the change happens, it remains the way it was. What about naturally it's going to change? A person's a child, just a question of time before you become an adult. That's called chazok asui lishtanos. A woman's a nida. Right? She's believed to say she's not a nida any longer. Why is she believed? Right? She has a cheskes iser. The answer is, how she believed? Could she make the difference, whether she is or not? She's menstruating, she's menstruating. The answer is because a woman doesn't menstruate forever. Eventually, it stops. So that week, that's called chazaka asui l'shtanos. The chazaka ultimately will not remain that way. Therefore, she's believed to say that she stopped and she went to the mikveh. Therefore, that's the reason why, as an Eid Echad, she's believed for that reason. Okay? So he says over here, since ultimately the child will become an adult, therefore that's called biyodo. So Tosas miyukoshe ma'yiri av afilu achinami. So if we're saying, so why only does the father? If we're saying the basis for his credibility is Eid Echad, and it's not considered you're changing his status because ultimately he will become an adult. So why is the father any better than a third party? Eid Echad nem bisurin. Avram, you have the question. Yishlomar da'av dayik tfei lo das shonov fish olav muto l'hodio la'acherim. No, that's a daughter. There's a son. Can't undo it. No. Tos is saying a father. It's true by others, but who knows factually when he was born and how old is he? That's the father. He says the father's. So it's not in belief. In terms of status, a third party is no different than the father. But factually, if a person doesn't really, he's not focused on certain facts, he doesn't know. Since the information is available to you because of your relationship with your child and you feel a sense of responsibility, therefore we give you greater credibility to the third party. A third party, it's not that he's not believed, he's not credible. Because what you need to know exactly when things happen and when will it happen, a third party is not fully in touch with that information. So therefore we give the father greater credibility than the third party. Okay? Next Mishnah. That's a monetary situation. That's Alpishnai made him Yokan Dover. Right? That's the reason why. It's monetary. No, depends on what context. He's a brother for Yerusha. What other? No, he's not believed either. He's not believed either. That's Dav Sheberva. Right? Okay. Kidashti is BT. Man says he married off his daughter. Kidashtiya v'gerashtiya. He says, I married her and I received a get. Right? A father, as he can marry a daughter, he's qualified to receive the get from the husband. Okay? He says, Kidashtiya v'gerashtiya. And seemingly, this is interesting. This seems to be a pesha hitir. Right? I married her, she's divorced. A woman comes, the Mishnah says in Ksubis, a woman comes and says, I'm a married woman. A woman says, I'm married, what's the halacha? Shav nashcheti yisura. She says, I'm married and I'm divorced. She's believed to say she's divorced. Where the witnesses? Divorce is not shav nashcheti yisura, it's just the opposite. You're releasing yourself. The answer is that's pesha hitir. If you believe me on the first statement, believe me on the second statement. And if you don't believe me on the second, don't believe me on the first. So basically, what do we say? We really don't believe you. Right? We don't believe you. Right? There's no basis on the first, so it's either way. But if you understand it that way...
She now wants to marry a person.
No, so she wouldn't be able. Because that's a Shav Nafsh Yisura. No, but that's Shav Nafsh Yisura. Same idea. Because based on her statement, you said you're divorced, so you can't marry a Kohen. Okay?
The woman said she was married, though.
She's believed.
So who would give her...
Let's say a woman say, I'm married. Wait. A woman says, I'm married. A week later, she says, by the way, I'm divorced. We don't believe her. We don't believe her.
If she said she's married, does she need a get?
Sure. Of course she needs a get. It's irrelevant. You better bring that husband to give you a get and prove who that husband is. She's limited and locked into her statement. Right? Okay, that's Shav Nashchit Yisura. Person says the meat is not kosher. All of a sudden, person says, it is kosher, but you said it's not kosher. So, unless you have a good reason to say why you said it wasn't kosher, you're not believed. The meat is lawful limits forever to you.
Well, she says, I'm married, but I don't have a husband.
What do you mean I don't have a husband? She says, I'm married, my husband died. I'm a widow. I'm married, I'm a widow. She's believed. Right? That's the Pesha Pesha. It's like saying, I'm married and I'm divorced. We'll see. Kidashti vigirashtiyo. Kidashtiya vigirashtiyo. Kshiktano. He's only believed that she's still a minor. Minor means even through being a naro. Very katano. Very naro. And she's still a katana. It's not she's an adult today. Neman, he's believed. The Gemara is going to ask on this. Kidashtiya vigirashtiyo. Kshiktano. Very kadola. What about? He says, I married off and I received the get when she was a minor, but today she's an adult. Do you believe the father? Right? Now he's not qualified to receive a get any longer. Right? Eidon Nemo. The Gemara is going to ask all whatever questions you have, the Gemara is going to address. Eidon Nemo, he's not believed. So more originally start off with, because it's not biyodo. Right? As a minor, it's biyodo to receive the get. So the Gemara is going to ask a question. It's only biyodo to receive the get if the husband wants to divorce her. Right? We had before regarding right? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan says that if it's biyodo, if you could bring about the result, person tied something on something that's growing, it's already grown, it's full growth. It should take effect when it will be detached, when it will be cut. It's effective. Why? Because it's biyodo, because at this moment he could actually cut it. He could detach it, that it shouldn't grow any longer. It's biyodo. Gemara says, so what about a ger? A man says to a woman, he's a goy now, he says, when I will convert, I'm giving you a ring now that it should take effect after I convert. So Gemara says it's not valid. Why? Because even if he has the bezdin ready, because the bezdin, they said, we're not interested. Because it's not within his ability to bring about conversion unless the bezdin agrees to participate in the conversion process. So it's not biyodo. So Gershon is a biyodo. I mean, if the husband wants to divorce her, he's qualified to receive the get on behalf of his daughter as a minor. But if the husband has no interest in divorcing her, right, she's locked into the marriage. That's going to be the Gemara's question. It's not biyodo. Nishbis upedisio. What about the father comes and says she was taken captive? Rabbinically, a woman's taken captive by goyim, she's not qualified for a kohen any longer, because the presumption is she was raped. She was raped by the goy, so she becomes a zona. Zona is not permitted to kohen, she's not permitted to eat truma, right? Both. So he says, nishbis upedisia. She was taken captive, and I ransomed her. Bein she katana, bein she gedola, enu neman. Whether she's a minor or an adult, making this statement, he's not believed. It will be the father's no better than a third party. She has a cheskes kashrus. Why should he be believed? She's not. What about if the father comes and says, my daughter was raped? Do you believe him? The ransom is irrelevant. She was taken captive and she was ransomed. I ransomed her. So what's the status? Is she permitted to a kohen or not permitted to a kohen? Mishnah says she's still permitted to a kohen. Ain't on them, the father's not believed. She has a cheskes kashrus. As when she was born, she was permitted to the kohen. She's still permitted to the kohen. The father is not believed to say she was taken captive. What's the basis for that? Right? Why should we believe him? Marriage, he's believed. He has the ability to marry her. Right? But the Gemara asks, but he has the ability to defile her. Right? To give her the same status like a woman who's defiled. What about if he was married to a mamzer? Let's say he marries her off to a mamzer. A mamzer has relations with a woman. Right? It's a forbidden relationship, a mamzer. You have a mamzer kal Hashem. She's not permitted to a kohen. She becomes a zona. So the Gemara is going to say, why isn't he believed it's biyodo? He can marry off to a mamzer. The Gemara is going to ask that question. What? What? It has nothing to do with it. But anything which is within his ability, we give him credibility. So that's within his purview of ability. No, but it doesn't make a difference. Why don't we believe him? Because he has a cheskes kashrus. She has a cheskes kashrus. But he has ability to undermine the cheskes kashrus. We say, why aren't you believing it as an eid echad? Because you're going against the chazokah. She has a cheskes kashrus. But that cheskes kashrus regarding him doesn't stand. in his way. Because if he wants to alter that cheskes kashrus, he can. He could say, I married her off to a mamzer. If a mamzer has relations with her, what's her status? She's not permitted to Kohen, she's not permitted to eat truma. Of course. It's only Chavi Lavim. The Gemara can get him up. Maybe it's going like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds Chavi Lavim is a mamzer. It doesn't. The marriage is not a marriage. Somebody asks, Maishno Reisha or Maishno Seifo. Why do we differentiate between the opening statement case, Bikadashti Girashtiyo? I married and I received a divorce, and she was taken captive, and I ransomed her. I redeemed her. She says, Reisha Biyodei. The Reisha, it's within his ability to bring it about. Seifo La Biyodei. I mean, could he bring about the state that she was taken captive? That she was raped by a goy? You can't marry off to a goy. If you say you can marry off to a goy, so as I could marry off to a goy, I should be believed that she was taken captive, because it's the same thing. But a father, it's not within his control to marry off to a goy. He's able to marry off to a cholo. What happens if a cholo has relations with his daughter? There's a question whether she becomes a chalola. A cholo is the seed of a Kohen from a forbidden relationship. Kohen marries a divorcee. What's the child? Although the father is a what? Is a Kohen, the child's not a Kohen. It's a cholo. He's a defiled Kohen. So he has the ability to marry off to a cholo, and if he marries off to a cholo, the marriage is a marriage. And what happens? She's not permitted to a Kohen any longer, and she's not permitted to eat truma. The koposla mikuna. He disqualified from kuna. Halokasha, to be continued.